It was just an ordinary afternoon. A young black boy, a small gift bag, and suddenly the entire neighborhood was on edge. No one thought it would happen, no one expected that with just one glance and a phone call a child would become a suspect, but what truly left everyone speechless was what happened next. A police officer bowed his head. A prejudice was shattered, and maybe, just maybe, after hearing this story you'll never see things quite the same way again. Welcome to the journey we call suspected, because of skin color. That autumn morning, soft sunlight spread across the low rooftops of the southern neighborhoods of Granville. Red maple leaves drifted down gently, touching the pavement like love letters from the sky. In a small, worn but tidy house at the end of Maple Street, 14-year-old Mike Walker was tying his shoelaces. There was nothing fancy about the house. Paint peeled in spots and the roof tiles had long faded, but one thing was always present: love. Mike's mother, Denise Walker, was carefully packing his lunch by hand, occasionally glancing up at the wall clock. Mike, don't forget your jacket, it's windy today, sweetie. Got it, Mom, I'm almost done. Mike beamed, his eyes sparkled, and his gentle, sincere smile shone like the sun breaking through morning clouds. Though life was far from luxurious, Mike never complained. He understood the sweat his mother poured into every warm meal and every threadbare blanket. Denise worked the assembly line at a car factory, standing 8 hours a day. Her hands were calloused, but when she stroked her son's hair, they were softer than anything in the world. She was a strong, independent woman, and she was Mike's whole world. A few blocks away, inside a luxurious villa with red tile roofs and a neatly trimmed lawn, Jason Campbell, Mike's best friend, was having breakfast alone. The dining table was long, the chairs were leather, and soft golden light reflected off porcelain dishes, but around him there was only silence. Jason's mother, Victoria Campbell, was the CEO of a major investment firm. His father, Richard Campbell, chaired a real estate empire expanding overseas. Their names often appeared in business magazines, but rarely in their own family photos. The only one near Jason now was Ellie, the housekeeper, a woman in her 50s, half gray hair and a voice warm as a winter wool blanket. Master Jason, would you like me to drive you to school today? Jason shook his head, still chewing toast. No need, Ellie, I'll walk. Mike's probably waiting at the corner like always. Ellie smiled. You and Mike are really close. I've never seen you smile so much as when you're with him. Jason shrugged. Mike really gets me. The boys met at their usual street corner, where the sunlight was always warm enough and childhood dreams still whispered in the wind. Yo, Jason wearing the Captain Nova hoodie again, Mike shouted, running up. Heck yeah, it's a limited edition, and look at you repping Galaxy Crew again. They both laughed. One was white, one was black, but no color could come between their laughter. They walked side by side on the sidewalk, sharing dreams about building self-operating robots or flying cars that could take people to Mars. Mike talked about wanting to become a mechanical engineer, while Jason dreamed of building a high-tech orphanage, one of the best in the world. You think we'll really make it someday? Mike asked softly. Of course we're smart, Jason winked, and we've got each other, that's enough. Mike smiled. For the first time he believed that maybe, just maybe, a real friendship could be the first brick in building a big dream. But not everyone in Granville saw things that way. Some glanced at Mike on the street with quiet suspicion, some whispered words like whined, their prejudice clinging Like moss to old walls, Mike didn't care. Or at least he told himself that, but some nights when he lay awake hearing his mom shift in her sleep after a long shift, he wondered, do I really get treated the same as Jason? There was no answer, but Mike knew that no matter what, he'd keep moving on his own 2 feet, guided by his heart. Elsewhere in Richard Camel's office, the gay-haired man in a crisp grey suit looked out the tall window below. Jason was walking with a black boy. Mike, he muttered, you seem to believe in that kid a lot. Victoria stood behind him, gently placing a cup of coffee on the desk. Maybe he sees something in Mike that he can't find in us, she said softly. Richard remained silent, but something shifted in his experienced eyes. Small, but the start of something new. Saturday afternoon in Granville brought gentle sunshine and soft breezes rustling through the maple trees, whispering secrets of a quiet city. Mike stood outside a comic book shop on Lincoln Street. His eyes sparkling. In his hands was a birthday card from Jason attached to a remote tech controlled robot model. You're seriously giving this to me? Mike whispered, almost in disbelief. Jason shrugged, munching on a mint ice cream cone. Not going to ask for it back. Consider it a late birthday gift, plus I need someone to play with. They stood under the store's awning, sunlight slanting across the red brick wall. The scent of cold ice cream mixed with old paper and ink from the shop, forming a familiar aroma, one that lingered in memory. Thanks really, Mike said quietly, his eyes fixed on the gift box like it was treasure. Jason looked at his friend. Though they came from different worlds, Jason had never seen Mike as someone different. In fact, Mike felt like the anchor that kept Jason steady in a wide but lonely world. I've got a dream, Mike said as they turned into a small park behind the main street. Yet I want to be an engineer, build cars, but not the fancy ones your family rides in. Mike smiled. I want to make cars for people like my mom, cheap, durable, fuel efficient, so she doesn't have to walk 3 mi a day just to save a few bucks. Jason was quiet for a moment, then he asked, you think we'll make it happen? Definitely, if we do it together, Mike replied. Jason smiled. Then I'll build the factory, you make the cars, and I'll open that orphanage. Use those cars to drive the kids to school every day. They high-fived, laughter ringing in the park like wind chimes. Kids were still kids, no matter how the world tried to define them. On the way back, they stopped at a small ice cream parlor on the corner, a place run by Millie, a kind black woman who always gave Mike extra toppings and called Jason the cutest blonde boy in Granville. The place only had a few plastic chairs, but it was one of the few spots where no one looked at Mike with judgment. Ms. Millie, can we sit by the window? Of course honey, we've got a new caramel popcorn flavor today. Jason leaned in and whispered to Mike, this place beats that fancy shop over in Eastwood. Mike grinned. This place smells like love. As they said goodbye at their usual intersection, Mike put on his backpack, clutching his toy and a box of cookies Ellie had packed. See you Monday, Jason waved. Mike nodded. Thanks for today. Thanks for everything. He turned toward the southern neighborhood, unaware that just minutes later a single judgmental glance would change everything. But that moment, the friendship, the laughter, the dream stayed in his heart, and that's what kept him walking, full of hope. Saturday afternoon, the comic book district in downtown Granville was lit up, neon orange signs flickering in the golden glow of sunset. Kids darted in and out of shops the store clerk rearranged shelves, and children shouted over rare action figure models. Jason held a big paper bag with a brand new Lego set. Mike had his old backpack slung over one shoulder and clutched the gifts. Jason had given him a fresh comic book and a remote-controlled robot. This one's super rare. The misprint on page 7 is like a holy grail for collectors. I pre-ordered it 2 weeks ago, Jason bragged. Mike's eyes widened. I knew you'd find it. You're a true marvel. Fanboy. They both giggled, then parted ways at the usual intersection. Jason turned right, heading uphill. Mike went left toward the working class neighborhood. Across the street, a white woman in her late 40s stood outside a bakery. She wore a shiny coat, perfectly styled hair, and held a luxury leather handbag. Her eyes narrowed as she watched Mike walking. That look wasn't just curiosity. She stared at Mike from head to toe, then slowly reached for her phone. Mike kept walking, earphones in, humming along to a tune. Karen, the woman who had been watching him, dialed a number 911. What's your emergency? There's a black teenager carrying a large bag in the downtown area. He looks suspicious. I think he might be involved in a theft. Her voice trembled with fake panic. 5 minutes later, at the end of the block, a white and blue patrol car from the Granville Police Department pulled up. What seemed like a harmless moment was about to become a life-changing one for two boys. Seconds after Karen hung up the phone, the distant wail of a patrol car echoed down the street. A white and blue police cruiser slowly pulled up and parked by the curb, lights flashing. The peaceful street seemed to freeze. A few bystanders stopped, squinting to see what was happening. Officer Ryan Cole stepped out. He was tall, wearing a vest and cap, his hand instinctively resting near his holster. Spotting Karen pointing at Mike, he approached quickly. What's going on here, ma'am? I caught this boy lurking around my neighborhood with a suspicious low-looking bag. He looked shady. I think he's a thief. Mike froze, clutching the gift bag Jason had given him. His heart pounded. I didn't. Ryan interrupted, voice firm. Let me see what's in the bag. Mike hesitated, then slowly unzipped the bag. Inside were a comic book, an expensive remote-controlled robot, a few snack packs, and a small note that read, "Happy birthday, Mike." Jason. Ryan glanced at it. Your name's Mike. Mike nodded. Why are you carrying someone else's gift? It's from my friend Jason. He gave it to me. Karen chimed in. Jason, who's going to believe someone like him? Our neighborhood's always been safe. We can't have someone that dangerous looking wandering around. Ryan turned to her. Did any other residents see this boy doing anything suspicious? Karen looked at an elderly woman nearby. The woman shrugged. I only saw the boy walking. He didn't do anything. Tension hung in the air like a tight-rope when suddenly a bike screeched to a halt by the sidewalk. Jason Campbell, breathless, hair messy from the ride, jumped off. Mike, what's going on? Ryan asked. You know this boy? Jason, still panting, said. Of course, I just gave Mike that birthday gift. I bought everything in that bag myself. Karen shouted. Oh, now they're covering for each other. I demand you detain them. This is a matter of public safety. Jason's voice trembled, eyes shining. You can't treat Mike like this. Just because he's black, you're wrong. So clearly wrong. Ryan stared at Mike, then Jason then back at Karen. The moment grew heavier. A white boy standing up for his black friend. Something about that shook the silence. The invisible walls of prejudice cracked. Karen began to lose control. I know racism is wrong and dangerous, but just look at that sly face. That posture, how could I be mistaken? Murmurs rose among the onlookers. Ryan took a step back. He weighed the situation. Mike still stood frozen, gripping the small but powerful piece of evidence, the note that read "Happy Birthday, Mike." Ellie was folding kitchen towels when her phone buzzed. Jason's name lit up the screen. A bad feeling hit her and she answered right away. "Aunt Ellie, Mike." Mike got stopped by the police. Some woman named Karen accused him of stealing. Ellie didn't ask for details. She simply said, "Where are you? Don't move from there." Less than a minute later she was out the door, moving faster than she had in years. On the way she called Denise, Mike's mom, and Victoria Campbell, Jason's mother. "Denise, it's Ellie. Mike's in trouble. A woman falsely accused him of stealing and the police are holding him. I'm heading there now." On the other end Denise froze for a second, then replied with one word, "I'm coming." Her next call was to Victoria. "Ma'am, Jason just called me. He's with Mike, but Mike's being held by police because a woman thought he was a thief. Jason's really scared." Victoria paused. "Send me the location." Not long after, two cars pulled up to the scene. An old sedan driven by Denise and a sleek Mercedes belonging to Victoria. Two women from vastly different worlds stepped out, but their faces carried the same expression, worry. Ellie was already there, standing beside Jason and Mike, one hand resting gently on Jason's shoulder like a warm blanket on a cold winter day. Denise rushed to Mike, shielding him. "I'm his mother. What's going on here?" Officer, Ryan's voice was firm, almost metallic. "We received a report of suspicious behavior because a black boy's walking down the street holding a gift bag." "That's suspicious behavior?" Denise asked, her voice low but unwavering. Across from her, Victoria stepped forward. "Jason is my son. Everything has already been explained." Karen Butin, "I was just doing my duty as a citizen." Her voice was steady, carefully measured, with a tone of moral patience. But underneath it all was a quiet arrogance, as if she believed she was bestowing justice. Denise turned to her. "You're hurting a child. You're planting fear in a heart that hasn't even had time to fully grow. Do you understand that?" Officer Ryan hesitated. He looked at Mike, then Jason, then the two women. I may have acted too quickly without fully assessing the situation." Victoria looked at him. "You're not the only one. The mistake isn't just in the action, it's in the assumption." Jason held Mike's hand. In the sudden quiet, something new began to take shape. The tension in the neighborhood slowly began to ease as parents, students, and bystanders started to grasp what was really going on. Jason's face still straight, with tears and panic, pulled a crumpled receipt from his backpack. It listed the toys and snacks along with the store name, date, time, and full payment details. "I bought these for Mike's birthday," Jason said, voice still trembling but clear. "I paid for everything. You can call the store to check." Officer Ryan Cole silently examined the receipt, then gave a reluctant nod. He glanced at Mike, then Jason. His eyes began to drift away, lightly brushing those young innocent faces before quietly turning aside, not quite fleeing, but there was a shame that couldn't be easily named. He swallowed hard, throat dry as if unfamiliar with the taste of apology. His lips moved, struggling to form words. I'm sorry, Mike, this was my unconscious bias. Silence filled the space, not cold or indifferent, but the kind that allowed people to reflect. From the crowd, a middle-aged woman shouted, "The boy didn't do anything wrong." That ladies always accusing folks. Then more voices chimed in. "I've seen her yelling at kids of color way too many times." Denise calmly stepped forward, stopping right in front of Officer Cole. Not too close, not too far, just enough for their eyes to meet and for him to feel scrutinized, not by anger but by a quiet, icy truth. "I'm not asking you to give Mike back the time or dignity lost today, but you can do one thing: redefine fairness. Start by saying you were wrong." Officer Cole held her gaze for a long moment, then turned back to Mike. "Mike, in front of everyone here, I apologize. I let prejudice speak before I knew your story. That was unfair. I'm sorry." Mike looked at him, then gave a small nod. He couldn't forgive the officer just yet, but he understood some people really could change, and now another shift began. Officer Cole turned to question and formally record Karen's actions with help from local witnesses. Her identity was confirmed. Karen Foster, previously reported in 3 similar incidents but never charged due to lack of evidence. This time with witnesses, physical evidence and footage from neighborhood security cameras. Karen Foster was officially detained. She now faced legal proceedings for intentional racial discrimination and misconduct. She was at risk of fines and court-mandated social equity training as she was escorted into the police car. The contemptuous look she had earlier thrown at an innocent child had vanished, replaced by a silent, buried shame. The silence remained, but it was no longer a suffocating cloud. It had become the pause after a long overdue awakening, when every gaze turned toward the truth. 3 months later, Granville had settled into autumn. A crisp breeze stirred the air and maple leaves fell across the sidewalks, just like the morning when this story began. But this time the air felt different, lighter, kinder. In the auditorium of Granville High School, hundreds of students, teachers and parents gathered for a forum titled Social Justice in a New Era. Mike Walker, now a little taller, his voice slightly deeper, stood on stage, wearing the gray sweater his mother had knit for him. Holding a microphone, he spoke slowly and clearly. "I'm not here to tell a sad story. I'm here to share an experience that changed the way I see the world." In the front row, Jason sat with arms crossed, listening closely beside him. Victoria, Jason's mom, was quietly chatting with Denise, 2 women who had once lived in different worlds, now Saturday side by side, smiling together. Richard Campbell sat a few rows behind, silent but visibly proud. At the back, Officer Ryan Cole was also present. No uniform, just a plain white shirt. His face was solemn but alert. A few in the crowd recognized him, the officer at the center of past controversy. No one said a word, but his presence spoke for itself. Mike continued, "I used to believe that my skin color determined how people treated me. That day I wasn't just scared. I was ashamed for doing nothing wrong and still being looked at like I was guilty." The room went silent. Mike took a breath, then spoke again, this time steadier. "But what I carry with me isn't just the pain, it's the lesson that all of us carry, biases often without realizing it, but all of us also have the right and the responsibility to change." From the audience, Jason spoke up, "Just Loud. Enough, and once you know you're wrong, you have a duty to change the forum. Ended. Later, Mike and Jason were seen sitting together on the old wooden bridge behind the school. The moonlight stretched across the quiet stream water, shimmering beneath. Mike stared into the distance. I used to think something that small couldn't change anything. Jason leaned back, smiling gently. That's 'cause you didn't know it wasn't small, it was the whole world to me. That day the moonlight caught a tear shimmering at the edge of Jason's eye. The story of the two boys spread widely across social media. Many schools invited Mike to speak about his experience and courage. As for Karen, the woman who had called the police, she was awaiting trial. She was ordered to attend mandatory diversity training. Her behavior was documented in official records, and she faced civil penalties for willful racial profiling. That evening, as they biked side by side down a path blanketed in golden leaves, Jason turned to Mike, the wind tugging at their jackets. Justice is when no one gets to trample kindness. Mike smiled. And when we dare to hold on to it, no matter how the world turns, no matter the color of your skin, no matter how small or grand your dream may seem, kindness will always be the strongest voice if only we're brave enough to speak it. And what about you? If you were Jason, would you have the courage to stand up for your best friend, or stay silent in the face of injustice? Leave your thoughts down in the comments. I'd truly love to hear your voice. Don't forget to like and share this story with someone you care about, because who knows, maybe it'll reach a heart that's ready to awaken. And make sure to subscribe so you won't miss the next inspiring journey. I'll see you soon on more emotional, heartfelt paths ahead. Goodbye for now. And may you always hold on to your kindness, because it's the strongest voice in this